The Friday Night Funkin' Incident 1.8 mod just dropped recently, and in this video I want to give you the backstory of each of the characters that actually pop up in this mod. The first character that we're going to start off with is going to be Uncle T, aka Mr. Trololo. Now, Uncle T has always been one of my favorite characters because if you guys remember when this mod first came out, he was one of the first characters that actually wholly accepted boyfriend and girlfriend's relationship.
Ah, this must be your boyfriend that you've been talking about so much. It is so nice to finally meet you.
Back when Friday Night Funkin' was still relatively new, usually every person that came into contact with boyfriend and girlfriend were basically just trying to block boyfriend's relationship. Uncle T, on the other hand, fully embraced them. This is also interesting because Daddy Dearest and Uncle T are actually old-time buddies. Basically, back in the 1990s and early 2000s, when Daddy Dearest was still actually touring, he actually had a performance in Russia. And one day while he was waiting backstage in order to go perform, he actually met Mr. Trololo because Mr. Trololo is also an ex-performer. And when the two were backstage talking, they actually ended up becoming friends. Their relationship became so deep that Mr. Trololo would actually go to America from time to time to actually visit Daddy Dearest, and Daddy Dearest would do the same, aka go to Russia to visit him. And after Girlfriend was born, Daddy Dearest actually asked Mr. Trololo to be her godfather. And this is why Girlfriend and Uncle T are so close and why she calls him obviously Uncle T. Now, a couple of fun facts about Mr. Trololo is that he's actually based off a Russian performer named Edward Kill, and I could be pronouncing his last name wrong because I don't speak Russian. Even though most of you probably don't recognize that name, if I show you this video here, you'll probably recognize the person and even the song that he used to sing. I say used to sing because Edward Kill has long since passed away. A few other things that I find interesting about Uncle T is that even though he's 104 years old, he's only considered to be middle-aged. And I assume this means that the troll-faced characters can live up to be about 200 years old. He's also 12 feet tall, and the nickname that he had for Girlfriend, which I believe is pronounced Little Clublita, actually translates out to Little Strawberry, which makes sense because she's a redhead. Now, even though Uncle T is not considered to be evil, in the mod we see when that black goop comes out of his body that he literally dies for a moment. And the only reason that he comes back to life is because Trollage takes over his body.
Are you okay?
Oh my god.
It's about time. I've been dormant for so many years, and they've neglected us for too long. But now, he has arrived.
And the sad part here is that even though Trollage loves Girlfriend, there's nothing that he can actually do to save her here, because while he is still inside of this body that is now called the Maestro, he can't actually do anything to stop it. What I mean by this is that Uncle T is basically a prisoner in his own body at this point because it's been taken over by Trollage. So he can hear and see everything that is happening, but he cannot help or talk to Girlfriend and Boyfriend at all. So luckily the Maestro ended up slipping on that bottle of soda, because if he didn't, Uncle T would basically have to watch the Maestro unalive Girlfriend and Boyfriend, and there would have been nothing that he could do to stop them. Actually really messed up when you think about it. Now, once Boyfriend and Girlfriend escape the Maestro, aka Uncle T, they end up in the Aurora Woods. And what a lot of people don't know is that the Aurora Woods actually has a lot of deep lore behind it. So the Aurora Woods are actually from the Aurora Woods incident, and this is the backstory that actually goes with that. So basically, the Aurora Woods are like a normal forest. It's dark, creepy, full of animals, but relatively peaceful. Now, this peace actually ended up being broken when Trollage actually wandered into the woods. Now, depending on what lore you read, some people said that Trollage simply wandered into the woods and got lost, while others believes that he went there on purpose with the intent of murdering campers. Now, personally, I believe that that was his actual intention because he ended up actually killing approximately 86 campers. And this is the main reason why we have the Aurora Wood incidents. There are several videos on YouTube and ifunny.com that kind of show Trollage going into the woods and slowly losing his mind, which is probably why he goes on to start basically unaliving a bunch of people. Now, in the Friday Night Funkin' mod, it actually says that Aurora may have been human at one point, and when he wandered into the woods, he ended up losing his mind, and that's how he became a Trollage. So there are a couple of different ways that this could have panned out, but none of them are very good. One thing that is obvious though is that Boyfriend and Girlfriend are definitely afraid of this creature, and one thing that I really like that they kept in this version of the mod that was also in the original is that Boyfriend puts himself in front of Girlfriend and even puts his hand out kind of protecting her. I also kind of find this funny because if you read the lore of the original Aurora Woods incident, apparently if you throw oil on the ground, Trollage will get so distracted by the oil that he won't actually chase any of the campers or adventurers. So if Boyfriend and Girlfriend had some oil conveniently on their person, they would have been able to get away from this character a lot easier. But luckily for them, that giant tree monster ended up taking care of Aurora. We actually get to see him crush him. And this character is called Mr. Tree, and as the name implies, he is a giant tree beast. And he's actually from a incident called the Screaming Tree Incident. If I remember correctly, this incident was created by a YouTuber called Shumify. And if I'm being honest, I think he's one of the better trollish type meme creators on the platform right now. Now there is some actual lore to this incident as well, and it basically goes like this. Trollish goes off into the woods in order to become one with nature. And when he's out in the woods, he hears this creepy howl in the distance. So being curious, he has to follow the sound back to its original owner, which turns out to be this horrible spore-ridden monstrosity that's supposed to be like a tree. And this creature ends up turning Trollish into a type of giant tree monster that plants its roots in the woods and is looking for hosts to put its spores in. So even though in this mod the giant tree does technically save boyfriend and girlfriend, he's actually doing it for his own benefit, not because he actually cares about them two. In reality, he simply wants to put his spores inside of boyfriend and girlfriend so that he can help reproduce and basically get more tree-like monstrosities into the forest. Now, we don't get to see what actually happens after this, but I like to believe that Daddy Dares probably shows up and saves boyfriend and girlfriend. The free play section also has a couple of interesting characters as well, starting out with Trollmungus. Now, if the suit wasn't enough to give it away, this guy is basically like the Among Us version of Mr. Trololo. And he's very similar to characters like Little Man or Baby Blue, if you guys remember those guys from back in the day. Meaning that his character is basically just one big meme. The next character that we see is actually Edward Kill, and I talked about him a little bit earlier. He's basically the person that Mr. Trololo is based off of, so this is the actual character here. I thought it was kind of cool that they actually added the real life version of him in the mod as long with the animated version. We see the animated version in the Family Guy little skit there and also in its own animation. Now, there are a few fun facts about this mod that I want to say for the end. One of those being that if you look at Uncle Trololo, when he actually transforms into the Maestro, he grows about 1.5 feet. If you look at this image here, it kind of shows the height difference. Another fun fact about this mod is that in the original version, the song Evacuate actually showed girlfriend just being afraid. But in this version of the mod, she's actually crying. Which when you think about it makes a lot more sense because somebody that's basically like a father figure to her is literally trying to unalive her. A subtle thing that some people may not have noticed is that the Aurora jump scare is actually different than the original one. I think this one just looks a little bit more realistic. And there's also a small cutscene, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure this cutscene right here is a reference to Baki. But that's not an anime that I'm super familiar with, so somebody correct me if I'm wrong. And the last part isn't a fun fact, but just something that I couldn't find a lot of information on, and that is this trollage called the Dude. For whatever reason, this version of the troll is actually sitting on top of his own grave, and I couldn't find anything on this one. So if anybody knows what this is about, put it down in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out this one on the screen here. Subscribe to Diddy, become a member of the Orseofkorse, and we'll see you tomorrow with another video. Peace.